This channel is not a place for charting my mental health. I usually don't try to talk about, I try not to talk about things that are personal. Occasionally things will come up that do have some personal bearing upon myself because it's personal, obviously. Um, and really, truth be told, few of the things that I discuss here don't have some personal components to them. Nevertheless, I'm always kind of wary about. I don't. There's a real tendency to get overly confessional um, in these forums, and I think a lot of. I've talked about this before. I think a lot of people who come on, you know, it's like, wow, I've got this platform. I can reach people. Maybe not a huge number of people, but I have people out there who are listening to me, um, and uh, and so they almost treat it as if they're talking to a close friend or something. The fact is that a lot of the people you're talking to out there might be friend material. A lot of them are. I've discovered I've had people that I've met via social media who did turn out to be uh, friend material. But many also are not. And so you have to be really careful about the things you share. Uh, and oversharing is a real danger. It's something to be on the lookout for. It seems to be something that uh, some people just kind of don't have uh, um, any real notions about whatsoever. It doesn't really occur to them to think, am I oversharing or not? Or if they are, it's like, I don't care. I'm just going to do my thing. I'm just full speed ahead because what have I got to lose? That whole kind of thing. And I'm not judging. I ain't judging. Um, I'm not here to scold or wag my finger at anyone. I'm just saying that I believe you don't just treat this forum as if as if it were a confessional booth. Much as I'm sure everyone wants to hear all of my juicy sins, um, you're not my priest, so sorry. It's not happening. But uh, I do want to say that I've discovered something, an interesting pattern, and that's this pattern of the January sads. 2 years ago in January, and I recorded some videos on this on my old channel before it got taken down. 2 years ago, I got sick. This was before getting sick meant that it was something you had to stop the presses and alert the media about, and immediately get a test done, and then isolate and quarantine, and it was just like, uh, 2 years ago, you could just get sick and then have people say, "Oh, that's too bad. We'll rest up and get better," instead of saying, "Get away from me. You're this is a worldwide plague. This is an epidemic. This is a pandemic. You've got to take this very, 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 very seriously. Every single case, every single stuffed up nose, every single low grade fever uh, becomes a reason to just panic uh, and hit the you'll hit the panic button is what you do, I guess, when you panic. Um, but this was before that, immediately before that era. I got sick, and when I was ill, I was afflicted in a certain way. Um, and I call it the January sads, but it wasn't like feeling depressed kind of thing. It wasn't like a what have I been doing with my life? I'm such a failure, or why didn't this work out, or why didn't that work out? That reminds me, though, I'm in the midst of saying, don't overshare, and then I'm remembering things that I actually did share about my personal life, i.e., my marriage, that I maybe wouldn't do if I had another go around. But what's done is done. And most of that stuff has been nuked anyway, except for my Nama Cates interview. You can hear it all. You can hear all the juicy stuff there, folks. Still, anyway, this wasn't like a depression or a sadness that was like about me, about what have I been doing with my life. Another year older, why haven't my books sold better? Why am I not more successful than I am? All those kinds of more, very egotistical kinds of questions. And I'm saying that I'm calling them egotistical, but we all have egos, so it's not like it's not relatable, and it's not like it's somehow out there sociopathic or like you're just behaving in a way that's totally out of bounds when you feel that way, because we want to do things with our lives. We have certain measures of success or failure, and of course, I don't necessarily always see my life as a success story, but whatever. That's all different from what I'm talking about here when I'm talking about the January sads. So 2 years ago, I got sick, and when I was sick, when I was physically ill, I had this. It was like something pierced my heart, and it was a kind of sense of vulnerability, but it was an outwardly directed vulnerability. It was a sense of the sadness of the world, the sadness, the trauma, the sort of all of the pain that is out there in the world. It was like it all got it was all just beamed into my heart, and I was afflicted in this way for several days, where it was like again a real sense of things, a sense of sadness, but not sadness that's connected again with me or with my own struggles or my own ego or egoic kinds of struggles or difficulties. It's not an easy thing to discuss, not an easy thing to talk about. But it was very, very real, and it was like it was what accompanied this this illness, which turned out to be the flu. It was diagnosed as the flu. Now, of course, I wonder if I might have had an early, because I've I've been pretty invulnerable throughout this so-called pandemic. So I don't know if I got the antibodies early on. But nevertheless, this past these past couple of weeks, with the start of another new year, 2 years later. This did not happen last January for some reason. Well, God knows there was enough to be sad about with regard to the world, but for some reason I didn't get afflicted in this manner in January of 2021. But January of 2022, i.e., now, it's come back in a less debilitating fashion than 2 years ago, but nevertheless, it's still back. And it's at the point where I wake up feeling sad, just feeling sad, and again, not because of anything that relates to me, but because of a feeling of, again, the pain and the suffering of the world just piercing my heart. And so it's debilitating in a way, because the kind of, I'm usually someone who has a very dark or edgy sense of humor, and it's harder to laugh at jokes like that, not because I suddenly find them offensive, or because my attitude towards that kind of humor or banter hasn't changed. It's just that it's harder to just, the idea of joking about it is to take the sting out of it, and it's harder. You feel the sting when you're in this frame of mind, when you're in this kind of mode that I've been thrust into again. And so it's also harder to write, because when you're writing, you have to be willing to, it takes a kind of toughness. You have to be willing to, again, take the sting out of what you're writing about, stuff that is painful, that has a component of pain or suffering to it, because pain and suffering are part of life. And so somehow you have to have a mind frame of toughness. And when I'm in this mode, I feel very stripped of toughness. I feel very vulnerable. And so again, it's hard to write about things that are disturbing, particularly. And when you're in this frame of mind, everything causes a disturbance. Not everything, but there are so many things that cause a disturbance in your mind, because you're so attuned to the suffering. And so my sense is just, this is something that you just kind of have to write out. You have to write it out. Because I've had this sense of things. Like I said, I had it 2 years ago, brought on by illness. This year, I don't know exactly what brought it on, but it came back, and again, in a less acute fashion than 2 years ago, but still it's back, and it's something it's cropped up a few times before. It's not a mode or a state of mind that I am unfamiliar with at all, but it's not the way that I exist most of the time. Most of the time, I'm able to compartmentalize more. I think that's what boils down to, is an absence of compartmentalization, an inability to compartmentalize, where you're just stripped bare before the pain and sorrow and suffering that you're aware is is out there, is just hovering uh, or dwelling, uh, and is so much a part of the world that we live in. And of course, maybe it's we're in a clown world right now. We're in a time of insanity. I can't think of the catchphrase right now. If there's some new catchphrase that where this was talked about in a particular way, like a sort of collective insanity that has been induced, I believe, from people who have no empathy, who have no sensitivity to the kind of things that I'm talking about, whose hearts are never pierced in this way because they have no hearts. But this is something I just wanted to report on, and because I remember talking about this 2 years ago when I had my old channel before it got deleted, and so those of you who have followed me since then maybe can refer back to that time. It's striking that it's happening at the same time of year, the beginning of the year. I have a birthday coming up. I don't know if that plays some kind of psychic role in what I'm discussing, even though, as I said, it doesn't. I don't feel it to be personal, but a birthday has got to be the day of your birth, sensing the day of your birth, experiencing the day of your birth is got to have some kind of impact on some level, psychically speaking. So let me know if you know what I'm talking about. Do you have the January sads? I don't think it's just seasonal. I know there's a seasonal component to it. I know winter has that effect on people. I know places in the world where they don't get a lot of sunlight, during the winter. I guess there's more often seasonal affected disorder, which is an anagram for sad. I don't really live in a place I live in a place, more equatorial, much closer to the equator, not at the equator, but close enough where the days are still reasonably lengthed. The sun doesn't go down at 2:30 in the afternoon or anything like that. So I don't know. I'll just end this in this little commentary here, and let me know if you've got anything to say about what I've been talking about. Thanks for watching.